You've been walking through storms you didn't choose, collecting invisible victories you didn't even realize you were earning. All those strange turns, those nights when you swore you were standing at the edge of something you couldn't name, have been shaping a rare kind of power inside you. This isn't about fixing what's wrong with you. Nothing was broken. It's about realizing the scale of the role you've been quietly preparing for. The unease you've carried, the sense that ordinary life always felt 2 sizes too small, wasn't a flaw in your wiring. It was a compass pointing you away from paths too narrow for your potential. While others built their comfort in well-worn routines, you've been out in the unknown, gathering fragments of perspective no one else could see. Those pieces weren't random. They've been waiting to assemble into something only you can bring to life. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, answer it. Click Join to unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening. Step into your divine purpose. Join the chosen. And here's what's shifting now. The things you've spoken in moments of raw emotion have been moving through unseen corridors. Every whispered hope, every surge of frustration, every quiet plea when no one was listening, they carried weight far beyond your awareness. They didn't just vanish into the air. They set forces in motion that have been carving space for what's coming. Your feelings were never a weakness. They were the signal flare that drew unseen help to your side. A truth so real it could only be carried by the one who lived it. There's a shift forming that will make the walls you've been staring at feel like paper ready to tear. The dead ends, the stalled momentum, the weight you've been dragging, none of it can survive what's about to open up for you. This isn't random luck or someone else's intervention. It's the moment your own endurance cashes in every unseen credit you've been earning all along. That pressure you've been under has refined your voice into something impossible to ignore. When you speak now, it's not guesswork or wishful thinking. It's the kind of instruction reality has no choice but to follow. And here's the truth few understand. Not every dream is meant to be handled by open hands. Some visions need to be incubated in silence until they're strong enough to survive the weight of outside opinions. Share them too soon with those who can't see past their own limits, and they'll unknowingly try to measure your horizon with their yardstick. Let the most valuable promises you make to yourself live where no one else can touch them. Let the quiet spaces, your notes, your thoughts before sleep, become your council chambers, where decisions are made with forces bigger than you. But be vigilant. The same voice that can bring life to your future can also keep you chained to your past if you turn it against yourself. Every careless word aimed at your own worth is an anchor you never needed to drop. If you've been touched by God's goodness, don't keep it to yourself. Click Super Thank You, and sow a gift of $20 or more to help spread His light. Your giving becomes a ripple of grace, blessing hearts and building His kingdom. Let His overflow pour through you. Everywhere you've been, you've left a kind of residue, unseen but unforgettable. People you've crossed paths with may not know why they feel different after you've gone, only that you woke something in them they didn't know was sleeping. And because of that, your presence is addictive. Not for entertainment, but because it makes others confront the version of themselves they've been avoiding. Which is why reclaiming your energy isn't optional. It's daily maintenance for the empire you're building. All that movement in your life, jobs, places, circles you've outgrown, wasn't aimless drifting. It was strategic gathering. Every odd turn and every moment of being the one who doesn't fit was a piece of raw material. Now, they're forming the foundation of something so distinctly yours that even you will look back and see it was worth every step you didn't understand at the time. You've always carried a range that unsettled the limits of the spaces you entered. Your vision stretched past what those around you could comprehend. Your feelings reached depths they avoided, and your ambition soared higher than they dared to imagine. In rooms where modest goals were celebrated, your very presence disrupted the equilibrium. They tried to convince you that scaling down was wisdom, but all it ever did was prove how far your horizon reached beyond theirs. What they missed entirely was that your scale was never an error, it was a preview. The glimpses you caught of what could be were not exaggerated daydreams. They were advanced signals of what you were meant to construct. You didn't come here to lower your gaze to match the comfort zones of others. You came here to raise the ceiling until the sky felt like only the first level. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull? Tap Join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership. It's your calling. Leaving those confining places wasn't about impatience or arrogance. It was about loyalty to an inner knowing that refused to be silenced. Opportunities that required you to shrink were never opportunities at all. They were tests, each one revealing your unwillingness to chain yourself to someone else's small vision. The truth was forming quietly. You were meant to shape frameworks, not squeeze into ones already built. Everything you've lived through, the creativity that didn't get its full stage, the insights others dismissed, the voice that spoke into empty air, the ambition too untamed to domesticate, is converging into a singular force. It's the kind of synthesis that can't be replicated, because no one else has walked your exact intersections of trial, courage, and clarity. When it takes form, it won't look like a copy of anything that came before. It might appear as a venture solving problems nobody else could articulate, or as a creation that gives a language to feelings people could never name, or simply as a way of living that reveals new blueprints for what's possible. Whatever its shape, it will carry the fingerprint of someone who refused to mistake tradition for truth. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $20 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. Recently, you've stepped into a shift that has rewritten your trajectory. You may not yet grasp how it happened, but something within you locked into alignment with a higher path. One where your potential isn't filtered through the lens of your past. Whether it was sparked by an unexpected insight, an encounter that affirmed your worth, or a moment of private clarity that changed your perception overnight, the distance to your goal has collapsed in ways you never thought possible. The resources you've been told to stop expecting are starting to surface in forms you couldn't predict. The right ally, the timely opportunity, the chance to bypass years of grind, they are assembling around your readiness. Situations you once labeled as detours are revealing themselves as perfectly engineered openings. Even your connection to where you came from is shifting. Old wounds in your family story are finding closure. Relationships that seemed fractured beyond repair are being rewoven with mutual respect. The choices you've made, choosing truth over approval, depth over safety, have been shaking loose patterns that held generations in place. And those ripples aren't stopping. They're moving forward too, altering what the future will feel like for those who come after you. Unseen eyes are on you now. Your way of living has become a silent challenge to others' assumptions. Conversations about your work, your presence, your potential are happening in spaces you've never entered. Among them is someone holding the opening you've been circling toward without realizing it. A path that will meet your skill and your vision in equal measure, and give it the reach it was always meant to have. There's a point in life when the signal you've been waiting for finally arrives, and it doesn't whisper, it crashes into your world with clarity. That connection, that invitation, that single message will not just open a door, it will pull you into the exact space you've been secretly shaping yourself for. What you've been building in quiet moments is about to stand where it belongs, in full view, ready to be recognized. The hesitation you've carried like a shadow is about to lose its grip. That idea you've been circling in your mind, that skill you've been practicing behind closed doors, is no longer something to get ready for. The universe is removing every reason you've given yourself to delay. And when the rush of vitality arrives, it won't feel like a casual mood lift. It will feel like waking up from years of slow motion. If your body has felt heavy despite rest, if your spirit has been on pause without explanation, the current about to sweep through you will reset everything. This isn't a season for overthinking. It's a season for movement. The moment that spark lights, pour it directly into what matters most. Not in theory, but in action. The alignment that fuels you will be designed for a purpose only you can fulfill. You have an ability to bring form out of emptiness. The starting line may look stripped down, the resources may seem bare, but that's part of the blueprint. Great legacies have been born from nothing more than vision and resolve, and yours is no different. What others call a lack, you will turn into foundation. Your strength isn't just in dreaming, it's in transforming ideas into something you can hold, share, and build upon. This isn't a journey that requires permission from old systems or validation from outdated structures. Your abundance will come from creating a rhythm that's yours, one where your work breathes in step with your own pulse. The more freedom you claim, the more the right opportunities will meet you. Environments that allow your creativity to roam, spaces where your independence is respected, these are where your influence and income will multiply. Whether you thrive in a personal workspace, a studio that swallows you into flow, or by carrying your work across landscapes that spark you awake, your success will be tied to your ability to honor your own cadence. What pulls you toward building something original, be it through art, healing, design, or innovation, isn't a distraction from your life's work. It is the work. It's the vehicle for your voice, the way your energy will reach the exact people who've been waiting for what you have to offer. Every part of this is about stepping forward before you feel ready. The truth is, you've already been preparing far longer than you realize. And when this moment meets you, it won't be about worthiness. It will be about whether you're willing to step into the stage that's been waiting for you. There comes a point when you realize that everything you've gathered along the way, the knowledge, the scars, the lessons, the people you've crossed paths with, hasn't been random. It's been a precise preparation for what's opening before you now. This isn't about scrambling to prove yourself or clawing your way out of lack. It's about recognizing that you've been standing in a position of strength all along, carrying the authority to shape the reality you've been envisioning. The pace of what's coming might feel like it bends time. Situations you once believed would take years to unfold will accelerate in ways that leave you catching your breath. What you thought was out of reach will suddenly be placed in your hands through doors you didn't even know existed. Challenges that felt like unsolvable knots will unravel effortlessly, not because the circumstances softened, but because your perception has shifted high enough to see what was hidden before. Your inner compass has sharpened into something precise and unshakable. You've learned to separate the quiet truth of your own knowing from the noise of doubts you inherited. Every moment you've chosen that inner truth over the safe, predictable route has built an unbreakable trust with yourself. That trust is now operating like a guiding system, leading you away from distractions and toward places where your purpose can land in full. People are stepping into your orbit who carry exactly what will amplify your next chapter. Some will recognize the spark in you and lend their wisdom to fan it higher. Others will merge their strengths with yours, creating outcomes that neither of you could manifest alone. A few will stand beside you with tangible backing, offering their influence, their connections, their resources, because they believe in the substance of what you bring. Understand this clearly. None of it is by accident. It's not luck, and it's not generosity without reason. Every late night you invested into your craft, every leap you took instead of hiding in comfort, every time you chose truth over quick rewards, those moments have been your invitation to the opportunities gathering now. The momentum around you is a response to the work within you. There's also a rare alchemy in the way you've handled difficulty. While many crumble under the pressure of pain, you've learned to turn it into fuel. You don't just carry deep feeling. You work with it, shaping it into words, art, solutions, or actions that breathe life into others. You take what's heavy and reshape it into something that frees people, something that leaves them stronger than they were before. This ability is more than resilience. It's transformation at its purest. It's why your work, your presence, and your story reach beyond the surface. You've proven, again and again, that even the rawest material can be remade into something enduring. And now that same energy is about to remake your own life in ways that will feel nothing short of extraordinary. The depth of perception you carry was never an inconvenience. It's the compass that has been guiding you toward openings others can't even recognize. The ability to sense where change is needed, to notice what's missing in the fabric of people's lives, and to feel what's unspoken has always been part of your design. Your prosperity is going to be born from that intersection between your imagination and the very gaps humanity has yet to fill. Every personal battle you've fought has been training you to see where solutions are not just wanted, but desperately required. Those chapters of difficulty were never punishment. They were the curriculum no institution could provide. The moments you felt crushed under emotional weight became a masterclass in how to care for the mind beyond what traditional routes can offer. The periods of scarcity taught you the architecture of financial freedom from a perspective that numbers alone could never explain. The storms you navigated in relationships rewired your understanding of connection, giving you a map that blends emotional intelligence with strategic thinking. That is why just getting by or chasing soulless profit has never been enough for you. Your compass points toward purpose, not shallow milestones. You've been wired for something that not only sustains you but leaves an imprint on the world. The frustration you felt when money was the only measure of success was your inner warning that something more aligned existed. Without realizing it, you've been gathering data from every job, every place, every conversation. Studying the rhythms of human behavior, noticing where systems fail, and identifying what people actually need but don't yet have. Your ability to empathize gives you access to truths logic alone can't reach. Your lived experiences make you relatable to people who are immune to polished, untouchable success stories. And the fact that you show up as your unfiltered self in a world addicted to facades is not a liability. It's the precise thing that will cut through the noise and make people trust you. Right now, your focus is like a magnifying glass under the sun. It burns through doubt and accelerates what you give attention to. The outcomes you've been working toward will now begin to arrive with a speed that feels almost unreal. But that level of acceleration demands clarity. Scatter your attention across too many directions, and the heat dissipates. Concentrate it, and you will melt through barriers that once felt immovable. When you declare what you intend, the sound carries further than you can imagine. Your voice doesn't just communicate, it reshapes the environment it travels through. Words spoken with certainty create invisible shifts, setting forces in motion that continue long after the echo fades. They ripple outward, connecting with circumstances and people that fit the exact blueprint of what you've described. This next stage of your path will not be traveled alone. Support is assembling from dimensions beyond the ordinary. Whether you name it as intuition, divine intervention, perfect timing, or pure instinct, there is a force moving in sync with you, clearing a way forward. It's been guiding your steps so precisely that coincidences have begun to stack like proof of a greater pattern. Within you are gifts that didn't start with you, abilities and strengths carried through your lineage, now waking up as you step into your role. These aren't just sentimental inheritances, they're tools waiting to be used. The work you start now will stretch far beyond your own lifetime, feeding futures you'll never personally witness and strengthening connections between people who may never know your name. That small, fragile seed of an idea you're holding is not as delicate as it seems. Inside it is the entire structure of something that could transform lives, carry your voice across borders, and anchor a legacy. The resistance you feel won't come from rivals or strangers. It will come from the version of you that learned to normalize struggle. But you are no longer bound to that version. The new chapter unfolding is built on the truth that you are not just ready. You have always been ready. There comes a moment when the version of yourself that survived the hardest seasons must hand the reins to the version that will thrive in the next. The old narratives, the ones that once shielded you, now act like invisible ceilings. They kept you safe when safety was all you could manage, but they cannot take you where expansion demands you go. The truth is, those same challenges were not the definition of you. They were the sharpening ground for the capacity you're about to demonstrate. As you shift into this new space, not everyone will follow. Some will quietly resist, not because you've done them wrong, but because your growth confronts the parts of themselves they've left unexplored. Others have grown attached to a chapter of your life they understand. The one where you were accessible, predictable, and unthreatening to their comfort. Moving beyond that will feel, to them, like you've changed the rules mid-game. But this isn't about severing connections out of cruelty. It's about allowing the natural flow of transformation to sort what can stay and what must fade. Every environment has a limit to the energy it can hold, and when your capacity grows, spaces that once felt right may start to feel like they're shrinking around you. It's not personal, it's physics. Your isolation was never a sign that something was wrong with you. It was proof that your frequency was already stretching beyond the average. You were carrying ideas, visions, and depth that the majority couldn't match at that time. Now, as you lean fully into that energy, your world will start to fill with people whose own inner work has prepared them to stand alongside you. Not out of obligation, but because they resonate with the level you're now occupying. This upgrade in connection isn't accidental. It's a reflection of how your nervous system is adapting. You're no longer primed for letdowns or betrayals as a default mode. You're calibrating to hold momentum, success, and trust without the constant expectation that it will collapse. You're replacing a readiness for loss with a readiness for expansion. And as you embody that shift, your life will mirror it back to you. New collaborations will flow more naturally. Invitations will appear that feel like they've been tailored to your exact strengths. Conversations will begin with people who understand the speed you move at, rather than asking you to slow down to make them comfortable. In this stage, your growth becomes self-sustaining. The more you allow yourself to step fully into it, the more your surroundings will reflect it, not by chance, but by magnetic alignment. And that alignment will make one thing impossible to deny. You were never just meant to survive your story. You were meant to rewrite it into something no one could have predicted. You've spent so long navigating challenge after challenge that your system has learned to expect turbulence, even in calm waters. That's why this next season, the one where opportunities begin arriving without warning and in greater measure than before, might feel almost suspicious at first. The instinct to scan for hidden traps, to brace for collapse, is simply an old reflex from a life where you had to fight for every inch. But the truth is, you've earned the right to receive without resistance. That persistent inner voice that sometimes whispers you're unqualified? It's not proof of inadequacy. It's proof that you're operating at the edges of your current capacity, stepping into realms only reached by those willing to push beyond the familiar. People who never question themselves often do so because they're not attempting anything bold enough to test them. The very fact that you're stretching into territory that demands excellence means you're exactly where you should be. This is the turning point where preparation stops being theoretical and starts becoming tangible. The resources you've quietly gathered, skills, relationships, ideas, are now intersecting with circumstances that allow them to activate. The people you're meant to work with are beginning to cross your path, not by coincidence, but because you've stepped into a frequency that calls them in. Momentum is about to become your new normal. The stuck energy of past years is breaking apart, making way for a rhythm where each decision and each action builds on the last. Problems that used to drain you will dissolve in ways you couldn't have engineered if you tried, simply because you're no longer thinking from the limits of your former reality. You're not the sole architect of what's unfolding. There's a larger intelligence co-writing the story. It's arranging encounters, clearing paths, and delivering opportunities that could never have been reached through strategy alone. Your only task is to keep the vision clear in your mind and stay receptive to solutions that may arrive in forms you didn't predict. Everything you've discovered about who you are, what you value, how you operate best, where your boundaries stand, is becoming the foundation of this expansion. You're no longer building on shifting ground. You're building on the bedrock of your own truth, and that stability will allow you to scale without losing yourself in the process. The flow that's beginning now is not temporary luck. It's the inevitable result of years of refinement, alignment, and preparation. And the more you allow yourself to receive it without guilt or self-doubt, the faster it will grow into something that carries you far beyond even your current expectations. There's a power waiting for you in the corners of yourself you've kept hidden. The talents you tucked away because they seemed impractical, the qualities you toned down because they made others uneasy, the visions you silenced because they felt too much. Those are not scraps to be discarded. They are blueprints for the version of you that can no longer be confined. Each of those abandoned pieces holds a spark that, when reignited, will open doors you didn't even know existed. Protecting your energy is no longer about avoidance. It's about precision. Boundaries aren't barriers to keep the world out. They're the framework that keeps your focus sharp. When you refuse to engage with patterns that drain you, you're not being distant or difficult. You're choosing to direct your strength toward what actually expands your life. Saying no to what diminishes you is as sacred as saying yes to what aligns with your vision. You weren't sent here to replay the same patterns you've witnessed. You came to dismantle them. You're the one who builds paths where walls once stood, the one who lives as evidence that a different outcome is possible. Every act of staying true to your nature instead of folding into expectations is a signal to the people around you that change is not only possible, it's already happening. Your life is not a fixed narrative. It's an evolving manuscript. What once felt like a final chapter was simply the setting for the next one. People who looked like adversaries often turned out to be catalysts. Doors that closed weren't meant to end your journey. They were designed to reroute you to landscapes you never would have found otherwise. The moments you thought were losses were recalibrations. The people you thought were blocking you were redirecting you. And the dreams you thought you had to bury are not gone. They've been waiting for the right conditions to grow without compromise. You are the author, the editor, and the narrator of what comes next. The pen has always been in your hand. You just had to remember that no one else has the authority to write your ending. The shift now is about reclaiming the full palette of who you are, painting with every shade you once thought you had to hide. The more you stand in that wholeness, the more you'll notice how quickly life rearranges to meet you there. The right people begin to appear, the right opportunities open, and the right timing aligns. Not because you're forcing it, but because you finally stopped cutting away parts of yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold all of you. Greatness has never been something you had to chase. It's been woven into you from the start. The reason smaller visions never felt satisfying is because they could never hold the full measure of your strength, your insight, or your ability to create. You weren't shaped to replicate what already exists. You were forged to design what no one else has imagined, to bring into being something the world didn't even know it was missing. Every season that tested you was refining the exact tools you would need to stand here now. The preparation is no longer hypothetical. It's complete. What comes next is expansion. Every risk you took when it would have been easier to retreat, every choice to trust your inner compass over the noise of the crowd, every moment you spoke life over your own vision even when no one echoed it back, all of it has been building this momentum. And now, what was once invisible is about to take visible form. This isn't merely about achievement. It's about stepping into the identity you were always meant to embody. It's about becoming the person who doesn't just navigate obstacles, but turns them into foundations for something greater. The one who doesn't just dream of change, but engineers it in real time. You're here to show that starting with less doesn't mean ending with less. That beginnings with no visible advantage can still lead to legacies that outlast a lifetime. The world is not just curious about what you'll create, it's waiting for it, leaning toward it, making space for it. And now, the only thing left is for you to step forward without hesitation, because every delay is just holding back a future that's already aligned in your favor. The opportunity isn't somewhere out there, it's right in front of you, waiting for you to take it and make it undeniable.